to start by telling you a story about a little fish that could. Living in some of the world's most beautiful areas in the oceans is a group of fish known as the parrotfish. And you can see one of them here. It's the blue fish in the center of the picture. These fish are called parrotfish because they have a beak-like mouth that's very much like that of the parrots. And like parrots, they come in many different colors of the rainbow and in different sizes and patterns. So you're wondering, well, what do these fish do besides swimming around looking beautiful for snorkelers and divers, like my friend Jorge who took this picture? Well, first off, they clean corals. With their specialized beak, they pick off the bits of algae that are growing on the coral. And if the fish didn't do this, the algae would overgrow and grow unchecked and cover the corals and eventually cause them to die. So you could think of them as a coral cleaning service. A second important thing that parrotfish do is that they produce the soft, cool sand that are found in many tropical beaches. When the parrotfish feed by picking off the algae off the corals, they also pick off bits of coral that they grind into sand that eventually makes it onto the beaches. In fact, one parrotfish can in its lifetime produce around 6 to 7 tons of sand. And they live about 6 years, so that is 1 ton of sand a year. So they're also beach-making machines. But sadly, they're making it onto the dinner plates of people around the world. These parrotfish you see here had their lives cut short, and instead of swimming around, cleaning corals, making beaches for many people to enjoy for many years to come, each of them probably became dinner for one person. Now, like me, you're probably wondering, how in the world could this be happening? Well, the answer to that question is that with the way our markets and our economies are set up, these parrotfish are worth more as dinner than swimming around doing what they do so well. And unfortunately, we see these examples every day. The invaluable things that nature gives us and does for us are somehow not valued in our economies. But fortunately, there's a new way of thinking and doing. That's changing, that's recognizing what nature gives us as well as what nature does for us. And it's been given a name, and we call them ecosystem services. Now with this new tool, we now can value these ecosystem services. So what was once precious but priceless are now starting to have some value in our economies. One of the oldest and best known examples of businesses and society valuing ecosystems and the services that they provide us is in New York City's watersheds. So back in 1986, the United States Environment Protection Agency set up a new rule under its Safe Drinking Water Act. And it required that drinking water either be treated or that the watersheds supplying the water be protected so that they can filter the water naturally. So New York City had a choice to make. Would they build a new water treatment plant, or would they figure out a way to protect its watersheds? Now, if you look at the map up here, you'll see that it's not going to be an easy task. New York City's watersheds cover a huge area. In fact, today, this watershed covers over 5,000 square kilometers, extending 200 kilometers away from the city. And it has 3 controlled lakes and 19 reservoirs. Sounds really big, doesn't it? Well, despite this daunting task, New York City decided to choose to invest in protecting its watersheds. And it embarked on a nearly 10-year journey to put a plan into place that finally happened in 1997. And it was a comprehensive plan. So in order to protect its watersheds, New York City had to protect the land that made up the watersheds. So it set up programs to buy land from voluntary landowners. And it also set up programs to buy up the development rights, so no buildings, no big towns or malls, from the willing landowners who still wanted to keep their land. They also had to figure out a way to keep as much chemicals and pollutants out of the water as possible. So they set up programs to work with farmers and foresters to better manage their land, to minimize, to use as little chemicals as possible, and to keep buffers along the rivers and streams so that they can continue to naturally filter out the chemicals before they get into the water. And they also set up programs to work with homeowners and businesses to improve their septic systems and their sewage systems, again, to keep these things out of the water before they can get in. Now, these are just some examples of what New York City does. And you're probably sitting there thinking, my gosh, this must have been really complicated. And wouldn't it be expensive? It's New York after all. Wouldn't land be really expensive? Well, you're right about the complicated part. It did take them about 10 years to come up with this plan. There were many meetings, many negotiations, many discussions with the communities, with the residents of New York City, with businesses, with the local and federal government. But the plan they came up with is one that most people are very happy with today. Now, but on the expensive side, New York City actually saved billions of dollars. If they were to have built a new water treatment plant, it would have cost them between 8 and 10 billion US dollars to build and operate. But their long-term watershed protection program only cost them, to date, $1.5 billion. Now, if you do the math, that's an 80%, over 80% in savings. And in addition to the billions of dollars that they saved, they also got many ecosystem services in return. They have great drinking water that's naturally filtered. They also have places like what's pictured here for their people to go hiking and swimming and fishing, or just to go simply enjoy nature. And they also kept the homes for their wildlife. So this example is an example that's happening on land. You're probably wondering also if something like this could happen in the oceans. And I'm happy to tell you that the answer is yes. Sharks. So most people here probably don't have a very good image of sharks. They're not known to be cute or lovable. And in fact, their reputation is dominated by the infamous killer great white shark. But that's not a very fair image to most sharks around the world. This whale shark pictured here is actually like a gentle giant of the sea. So much so that you can see that the other fish, the little fish, are not afraid to swim right next to it. And that's because they actually don't eat other fish or humans. They swim and filter the tiny plants and animals in the water as food. And then as their name implies, they're huge. They're the size of buses, with adults growing to 12 meters long. So a few decades ago, some very smart people thought, well, maybe there will be some other people who might enjoy seeing and swimming with these sharks. So the first whale shark tourism spot was set up in the late 1980s in Western Australia. And today, there are whale shark tourism destinations in over 20 countries, in Mexico and Belize, in Mozambique and Kenya, in the Philippines and the Seychelles, and of course in Australia. But it wasn't always like this. Like our friend the parrotfish that you saw in the first slide, whale sharks are hunted around the world for meat and for the very lucrative shark fin trade. One large shark fin can be worth over 50,000 US dollars. Now, but that's an exception. Most of the small fishing communities that actually hunt and catch these sharks, they only see a fraction, about a tenth of that, about a few $1,000s per shark. But whale shark tourism is changing that. communities with whale shark tourism now are seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars to several millions of dollars a year in revenue. Now, of course, in each of these destinations, there are more sharks than one. So how does one shark as food compare to one shark as a friend? So some people calculated what one whale shark would bring to the communities that are developing tourism. At the low end, one whale shark in Australia is bringing about $200,000 to its communities over its lifetime. At the very high end, in a place in Belize, they're thinking that one whale shark is bringing about $2 million to those communities. Now, but as meat and as shark fin, it's only worth about tens of thousands of dollars. So a whale shark as a tourism attraction is about double to triple and maybe even 20 times that of a whale shark dead and eaten. So let's get back to our favorite parrotfish. What would it look like if we were to try to find a way to value what parrotfish do for corals and beaches? One of the things that's been happening around the world in beaches everywhere is something called beach erosion. That's that the sand that naturally gets washed away don't naturally come back like they should. And there are different reasons for this. Some are natural. Beaches do naturally grow and shrink and move around. But many of the reasons are actually unnatural, and it's because of us. We've put buildings on beaches, next to beaches, that have changed the way wind and waves move the sand around. We have cut down the trees and the plants that grow along our coasts that keep the sand and the soil in place. And we've also damaged the health of our coral reefs by putting in pollutants and also by fishing away their cleaning and beach making service. Now, we all love beaches, so do tourism companies and hotels. So what they are doing now in order to keep having beaches is that they have to go bring in sand from some other place. And often the sand is of a lower quality. And this is costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars each time. And just like the sand that was naturally there, these trucked in sand also don't stay in place. They also go away. And so these cities and businesses have to do this every few years. Now, one idea that some people and I are working on is to try to figure out a way to see if we could work with these cities and businesses to invest just some of those millions of dollars to protect the corals, the parrotfish, and the connected habitats and organisms that all work together to keep our beaches and to make our beaches. So this is probably sounding like the New York City watershed idea to you, and it sort of is. That was a very good inspiration for us. And like that program, it's taking a lot of meetings and discussions and the negotiations. But I'm happy to report that we're making really, really good progress. And I hope that I will be able to share this new, complete story with you in the next few years. So now we're starting to have the tools to be able to choose the mangroves pictured here on the right over the concrete blocks pictured on the left in order to protect our coasts. And mangroves give us so much more besides protecting our coasts. They are nurseries for young fish. They may be the key to the next cancer cure. They provide lots of habitat for other animals. And to me, they're also really beautiful. And we now are able to start valuing these other ecosystem services and be able to value them in our economies. Imagine a world where instead of investing lots and lots of money in taking out resources after resources. And changing our landscapes and our oceans, we invest this money in protecting nature and conserving nature so that it can continue to provide us with the things that we like, with the things that we need, and with the things that we want. And we're at the very beginning of this new world, and I invite all of you to join me on this journey. Thank you.